The glass doors of the Silicon Valley Convention Center gleamed under harsh morning light. Marcus Williams stood before them, his royal blue hoodie bright against the sterile white marble. Security guards crossed their arms, forming a human wall. "Invitation only," the taller guard said, not looking at Marcus's phone. Behind the glass, developers in mustard yellow lanyards laughed over laptops. The air smelled of expensive coffee and ambition. Marcus didn't move. He simply smiled, the kind of smile that held years of practice. "I have confirmation," he said quietly, extending his phone. The guard glanced at it, then smirked. "System error. You're not on the list." A woman in an ivory blazer approached from inside. Dylan Cross, lead organizer, his face sharp with entitlement. He pushed through the doors, sizing Marcus up in 3 seconds flat. "Can I help you?" Dylan's tone suggested otherwise. "Marcus Williams. I registered 3 months ago for Techolite." Dylan laughed, short, dismissive. "Techolite is invitation only, for verified professionals." He emphasized the last word like a barrier. Phones appeared. Whispers rippled through the crowd gathering near the entrance. Marcus felt the weight of 100 assumptions pressing against his chest. "Check your system," Marcus said. Dylan didn't. Instead, he leaned closer, voice dropping. "Look, I don't know how you got that email, but this event has standards. Maybe try a community college workshop. Hey, before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments. And if you're loving this story already, smash that like button and subscribe for part 2. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next." Marcus's jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. He turned, walked down those pristine steps, and disappeared into the parking lot. The crowd returned to their coffees, the incident already forgotten, but Marcus's phone was already open. One message sent. 3 words. Initiate Phase 1. 6 months earlier, Marcus sat in his cramped Oakland apartment, 3 monitors glowing in the darkness. Lines of code scrolled like poetry only he could read. His fingers moved with the precision of a concert pianist. The apartment was small, barely 400 square feet, but the walls were covered with whiteboards filled with algorithms. Empty ramen cups formed a small pyramid near the trash can. This was his kingdom. Marcus had taught himself to code at 14 in a public library. No boot camp, no computer science degree, just raw hunger, and a donated laptop that crashed every 20 minutes. Now at 28, he'd built something the tech world hadn't seen coming. An AI platform that predicted market trends 3 months ahead with 94% accuracy. Machine learning that adapted in real time. Code so elegant, so impossibly efficient, that venture capitalists would have started bidding wars if they knew it existed. But Marcus had learned early. Talent without access was invisible. Genius without connections was just noise. He'd watched countless resumes disappear into corporate black holes, watched investors glaze over during pitches when they saw his face before his product. So he'd stopped trying to be seen. He'd started building in secret. Techolite had seemed different. Their website promised merit-based innovation and radical inclusion. Marcus had believed them, had spent 3 months perfecting his hackathon pitch. He'd imagined standing on that stage, finally connecting with people who spoke his language. His phone buzzed. Acceptance email from Techolite. "Congratulations, Marcus Williams. You've been selected." He'd smiled then, hopeful and naive. He'd bought a new hoodie, royal blue, his mentor's favorite color. He'd rehearsed his introduction 40 times. That version of Marcus didn't know what waited for him at those glass doors. Didn't know that hope could be weaponized. Didn't know that some doors were designed to stay closed no matter how hard you knocked, but he was about to learn. And the lesson would cost them everything. Hackathon morning arrived with California sunshine and cruel clarity. Marcus walked into the convention center lobby at 8:45, his laptop bag slung over one shoulder. His confirmation email was pulled up, ready. The main hall buzzed with energy. Developers clustered around registration tables, comparing ideas, forming teams. Marcus approached the check-in desk, heart steady, mind sharp. The volunteer, a young woman in a lavender Techolite t-shirt, smiled automatically. Then her eyes flicked to Marcus's face. The smile froze. "Name?" she asked, fingers hovering over the tablet. "Marcus Williams," she scrolled, frowned, scrolled again. "I'm not seeing you." "I have the confirmation." Marcus showed his phone. She bit her lip, glanced toward the back office. "Let me get my supervisor." 2 minutes became 5. Other attendees checked in around him, receiving mustard yellow lanyards and welcome packets. Marcus stood still, aware of the growing attention. Dylan Cross emerged from the crowd, confidence radiating from every step. His cobalt blue suit probably cost more than Marcus's entire wardrobe. He looked at Marcus, then at the volunteer, then back at Marcus. "Problem?" Dylan asked. "He says he's registered, but are you lost?" Dylan interrupted, addressing Marcus directly. "Catering entrance is around back." The words landed like a slap. Several nearby developers turned, interest sharpening. "I'm not catering," Marcus said evenly. "I'm a registered participant." Marcus Williams. Dylan took the phone, glanced at the email for exactly 2 seconds. "This is obviously a phishing scam. We don't send confirmations from generic addresses." He handed the phone back like it was contaminated. "That's your official domain," Marcus said. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You're disrupting registration. I paid the $300 entry fee. Check your records." Dylan's smile turned sharp. "We'll refund it. Now please, before I call security." Marcus looked around the room. 50 people watched in silence, some with phones recording, others with expressions ranging from pity to suspicion to outright hostility. Not one person spoke up. Dylan raised his hand. 2 security guards approached. "Escort this gentleman out. And make sure he doesn't come back." The guards each took an arm. Marcus didn't resist. He let them walk him backward through those glass doors, past the registration tables, down the marble steps. The morning sun felt different now, exposing, harsh. At the curb they released him. One guard shook his head, almost apologetic. The other just looked bored. Inside, Dylan addressed the crowd with a microphone. "Sorry for the disruption, everyone. We maintain strict standards here at Techolite. Now let's get back to innovation." Applause followed. The incident evaporated into the busy morning. Marcus stood on the sidewalk, invisible again. Marcus sat on the concrete curb, laptop bag between his knees. Cars rushed past on the boulevard. The convention center hummed with muted excitement behind its glass walls. His hands were steady. That surprised him. He'd expected rage, maybe humiliation's hot flush. Instead, he felt something colder, clearer. He opened his laptop. The screen glowed in the shadow of the building that had just rejected him. His AI platform dashboard loaded. 3 months of market predictions, all accurate. 17 venture capital firms tracked on his watch list. And one specific target highlighted in red: Techolite Holdings' parent company. He'd researched them weeks ago, out of curiosity. Now he read with purpose. Declining revenue, massive overhead, board tensions. They were bleeding money while projecting success. Marcus thought of Mr. Chen, his mentor who died 2 years ago. The old engineer had faced this same wall 50 years earlier. Different era, same locked doors. He'd told Marcus stories over tea in his cluttered workshop. "They'll never let you in through the front," Mr. Chen had said, his weathered hands steady on a circuit board. "So don't ask. Buy the building, then decide who gets keys." At the time, Marcus had thought it was just bitterness talking. Now he understood. It was strategy. Mr. Chen had left him more than memories. Encrypted files, investment contacts, and one final instruction: build something they can't ignore, then make them see it. Marcus had been building for 6 years. The platform was ready. The connections were ready. He'd been waiting for the right moment, the right motivation. Dylan Cross had just provided both. Marcus closed the laptop, stood, brushed dust from his jeans. He looked back at the convention center one last time, not with longing, but with calculation. "Thank you," he whispered to the building. Then he walked to his car and started making calls. Marcus was 7 when he first saw code. The public library in East Oakland, a borrowed 30-minute session on a desktop held together with duct tape. A volunteer had shown him, "You can tell the computer what to do," she'd said. Something clicked. In foster care, Marcus never got to tell anyone what to do. Adults made decisions. He followed, but code listened. He returned every day after school, teaching himself from free online tutorials. HTML, then JavaScript, then C++. By 12, he was debugging the library's network. By 15, he'd built his first app, a resource finder for homeless youth. No one cared. The app worked, helped people, but Silicon Valley didn't scout Oakland group homes then. At 17, he met Mr. Chen. The elderly engineer had been fixing the library's printer when he noticed Marcus's screen, an algorithm that shouldn't have been possible for a self-taught teenager. Mr. Chen didn't say much that first day. Just watched, nodded once. "Come by my workshop Saturday," he'd said, handing Marcus an address on a torn receipt. The workshop was a converted garage in San Leandro, stuffed with vintage computers and circuit boards. Mr. Chen had worked at IBM in the 70s, faced discrimination that kept him from advancing despite his brilliance. He'd quit, built his own consulting business, quietly amassed wealth. "I see you," Mr. Chen had told Marcus that first Saturday. "Not who they think you are, who you actually are." For 5 years, Mr. Chen taught Marcus everything, not just coding, but strategy, investment, leverage, how to navigate rooms that didn't want you, how to build power structures, not just products. When Mr. Chen died suddenly from a stroke, Marcus found the encrypted files, offshore accounts, stock portfolios, angel investor contacts across Asia and Europe, a network Mr. Chen had built in silence for decades, and one video message: "They made me invisible, so I became a ghost. You're better than I was, Marcus. Don't haunt, own." The inheritance was $7 million. Marcus had invested it carefully, watching it grow, building his AI platform in secret, waiting for the moment when invisibility became his greatest weapon. Techolite had no idea who they'd just turned away. They saw a black man in a hoodie, made assumptions, closed the door. They didn't see the ghost with keys to every lock in the building. That night, Marcus worked until dawn. His monitors cast blue light across the apartment walls. He pulled up Techolite Holdings' complete financial records, publicly available if you knew where to look. The numbers told a brutal story. Revenue down 42% over 18 months. 3 major sponsors had pulled out. Their flagship product, a developer collaboration tool, was losing market share to competitors. But they maintained the illusion. Expensive venues, exclusive branding, Dylan Cross's cobalt blue suits and press releases about maintaining excellence. Marcus dug deeper. He found the discrimination patterns easily. They weren't even hiding them well. Techolite's acceptance rates for the past 3 years: 89% for applicants from top-tier universities, 4% for self-taught developers. Diversity numbers suspiciously low, always explained away in PR statements. They'd built their brand on exclusion, on maintaining walls. Now those walls were crumbling, and they didn't have the innovation to survive. Marcus cross-referenced the board of directors. 5 members, all desperate for an exit. The company was worth maybe $12 million on paper, but drowning in debt. They needed a buyout, fast. His AI platform was currently valued by independent analysts at $43 million. He'd been planning to launch it publicly, partner with an established firm. But why partner when you could own? Marcus opened his secure contact list, the network Mr. Chen had left him. Investors in Singapore, Seoul, Berlin. People who cared about profit, not prejudice. Who evaluated code, not color. He drafted an acquisition proposal, professional, clean, anonymous. The offer, $14 million, cash, for 100% ownership of Techolite Holdings. 50% above market value. Close within 3 weeks. His heart hammered against his ribs. This wasn't revenge. This was something bigger, a chance to transform the thing that had tried to destroy him. He thought of Dylan's face at those glass doors. The casual cruelty, the automatic dismissal. Marcus smiled. Not with anger, but with understanding. Dylan had given him exactly what he needed: clarity of purpose and undeniable justification. He clicked send on the proposal. The email vanished into the digital void. 3 minutes later, his phone buzzed. Response from his lead investor in Seoul. Reviewed the numbers, we're in. Let's take the meeting. Marcus walked to his window. Oakland stretched below, lights flickering in the pre-dawn darkness. Somewhere across the bay, Dylan Cross was probably sleeping, secure in his assumptions about how the world worked. He had no idea the world was about to shift beneath his feet. No idea that the man he'd humiliated was now holding the deed to his entire kingdom. Marcus breathed deep. For you, Mr. Chen, he whispered. And for every door they slammed shut. Then he returned to his laptop and started drafting the contracts. 2 weeks later, Dylan Cross sat in the Techolite boardroom, champagne glasses raised. The buyout offer had arrived anonymously through a Singapore investment firm, $14 million. The board had pressured him to accept. They were hemorrhaging money. Dylan had negotiated one clause. He'd stay on as managing director. Maintain his authority. Keep his kingdom. To our mysterious benefactor, Dylan toasted, grinning. Whoever you are, you just saved Techolite. The board members clinked glasses, relief visible on their faces. They'd been 3 months from bankruptcy. This was deliverance. The new owner wants to meet today, the board chair said. Should be here any minute. Dylan straightened his tie, cobalt blue silk, expensive. He'd prepared remarks, a presentation showcasing Techolite's commitment to excellence. He'd show this investor they'd made the right choice. The boardroom doors opened. Marcus walked in. Same royal blue hoodie. Same calm expression, but now carrying a leather portfolio and flanked by 2 attorneys in cream-colored suits. Dylan's champagne glass slipped, caught at the last second. His face drained of color. What are you doing here? Marcus smiled. Set his portfolio on the table. Congratulations, Dylan, you now work for me. That's impossible. You can't. I can. Marcus opened the portfolio, slid the signed contracts across the polished wood. 100% acquisition. Closed this morning. I now own Techolite Holdings, its subsidiaries, its assets, and its staff. The board members looked between Marcus and Dylan, confusion shifting to understanding to barely suppressed satisfaction. Dylan had been difficult, arrogant. Now he was just an employee. You tricked us. Dylan's voice cracked. No, Marcus said quietly. You assumed. There's a difference. He turned to the board. Your positions are secure. Your investments are protected. But we're making changes. Starting with management. Dylan stood, chair scraping. You can't do this. I built this company. Marcus met his eyes, steady, unblinking. You built walls. I'm here to build something better. This is revenge. This is business. Marcus's voice didn't rise. You judged me at those doors based on assumptions. Now you'll learn to judge work based on merit. He opened his laptop, turned the screen toward the board. His AI platform dashboard filled the display, stock predictions, market analyses, innovation metrics that made even Dylan pause. This is what you banned from your hackathon, Marcus said. This is what your standards rejected. Silence filled the boardroom, heavy and complete. Dylan sank back into his chair, hands shaking. Everything he'd built, every assumption he'd made, crumbling in real time. Marcus closed the laptop, looked at each board member. We have work to do. This company will survive, but only if it transforms. Excellence isn't about exclusion. It's about innovation. He glanced at Dylan one last time. You have a choice. Resign with dignity or stay and learn. But the walls you built? "They're coming down." Dylan opened his mouth, closed it. No words came. Marcus gathered his portfolio. "I'll give you 24 hours to decide." Meeting adjourned, he walked out, leaving champagne glasses untouched and assumptions shattered. The door closed with a quiet click that sounded like thunder. Dylan sat alone in his office, the door locked. Outside, staff whispered in clusters, phones glowing with the news. Marcus Williams, the man he'd escorted out, now owned everything. The framed awards on Dylan's wall mocked him. Tech Innovator of the Year. Excellence in Leadership. Hollow trophies built on gatekeeping, not genius. His phone buzzed constantly. Board members requesting meetings. Investors asking questions. Media outlets sniffing for scandal. He silenced it all. The ivory carpet beneath his desk felt foreign suddenly, like borrowed luxury he'd mistaken for ownership. He'd spent 8 years building Techolite's reputation, curating its exclusivity. Now a single decision at glass doors had destroyed everything. Dylan's hands trembled as he poured whiskey he wouldn't drink. The crystal tumbler caught afternoon light, fracturing it into useless rainbows. He thought of Marcus's expression in that boardroom, not triumphant, not angry, just certain, like someone who'd calculated every variable and found Dylan lacking in all of them. For the first time in his career, Dylan felt what Marcus must have felt on that curb, powerless, invisible. Judged before he could prove his worth, the irony tasted bitter. He'd built walls to keep people out, never imagining those same walls could become his prison. His computer pinged. Email from Marcus. Decision deadline 6 p.m. tomorrow. Choose wisely. Dylan stared at the message until the screen dimmed to black, reflecting only his own uncertain face. Marcus called an all-staff meeting the next morning. The convention center's main hall, the same space where he'd been rejected, now filled with anxious Techolite employees. He stood on the stage. No podium, no notes. Just presence. "I'm Marcus Williams, your new owner. Some of you watched me get escorted out of here 2 weeks ago." He paused. Let that truth settle. "Today I'm announcing changes." Worried glances rippled through the crowd. People feared layoffs, restructuring, revenge. Techolite will become what it claimed to be, merit-based and inclusive. We're launching scholarship programs for self-taught developers. We're removing university requirements from applications. We're building accessibility into everything we do. A young woman in the third row raised her hand tentatively. "Maria Gonzalez, junior developer, barely 23, yes?" Marcus said, Will this change our brand positioning?" Her voice shook slightly. Marcus smiled. "It'll improve it. Talent doesn't care about pedigree. Code either works or it doesn't. We've been mining 1% of the talent pool. I'm here to find the other 99. He pulled up a slide, his AI platform's interface. "This is what I've been building. It'll integrate with everything we do. Predictive analytics for event planning. Machine learning for applicant evaluation. No bias, just data." The room shifted. Curiosity replaced fear. Developers leaned forward, studying the screen. "Anyone interested in beta testing can sign up after this meeting," Marcus continued. "I'm not here to punish you for leadership's mistakes. I'm here to unlock what this company could have been." Maria's hand rose again. "What about people like me? I'm from a community college. I barely got hired here." Marcus met her eyes. "People like you are exactly why I bought this company. You're not the exception anymore, Maria. You're the blueprint." Applause started slowly, then built. Not everyone joined. Some remained skeptical, arms crossed. But enough people clapped that the sound filled the hall. Dylan watched from the back unnoticed. He saw his staff responding to Marcus's vision with enthusiasm they'd never shown for his speeches. After the meeting, Maria approached Marcus, laptop clutched to her chest. "I have an idea for the platform." "A feature for—" "Show me," Marcus said. They sat right there on the stage steps reviewing her code. Within 10 minutes, Marcus had integrated her suggestion into the development roadmap. Dylan turned away, something cracking in his chest. Not jealousy, recognition. Marcus was doing what Dylan had only pretended to do, actually building something that mattered. 5 p.m. Dylan entered Marcus's new office, formerly Dylan's own space, now stripped of pretentious awards and refurnished with functional simplicity. Marcus looked up from his laptop. "Your decision?" Dylan sat without being invited. A small rebellion he immediately regretted. "I want to understand something first. Why give me a choice? You could have just fired me." Marcus leaned back. "Because Mr. Chen gave me one." "Who?" "My mentor. When I was 17, angry, convinced the system was rigged against me, he said, 'You can be right and bitter or right and powerful. Choose.'" Marcus's expression softened with memory. "He taught me that transformation matters more than revenge." Dylan looked down. "I judged you. At those doors. I didn't even check the system properly." "I know, I assumed," Dylan's voice caught. "I assumed you didn't belong." "Because of?" "Because I've been taught that excellence looks a certain way. And now?" Dylan gestured at the laptop. "That AI platform. It's years ahead of anything in the industry." "You built it alone?" "With help from people the industry ignored." Silence stretched between them. Dylan's phone buzzed. A text from his father, a venture capitalist who taught him that networks mattered more than skill. He'd spent his whole career believing that lie. "I want to resign," Dylan said finally. Marcus nodded slowly. "Okay, but I also want to ask you something." Dylan's hands gripped his knees. "Teach me. Not how to code, I know enough. Teach me how to see people the way you do. How to build without walls." Marcus studied him. "Why?" "Because I spent 8 years building the wrong thing. And I watched Maria's face light up when you actually listened to her idea. I've never made anyone feel that way." Dylan's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "I want to matter for the right reasons." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he opened his laptop, pulled up a file. "Mr. Chen left me something before he died. A curriculum, how to identify talent that traditional systems miss. How to mentor without gatekeeping." He turned the screen toward Dylan. "I've been planning to scale this, train others. It's not easy. You have to unlearn everything you think you know about merit. I'm willing. It means starting over. No title, no authority. Just learning." Dylan exhaled shakily. "I think I need that." Marcus extended his hand. "Then welcome to the real work." They shook. Not as owner and employee, not as victor and defeated. As two people choosing transformation over pride. "One condition," Marcus added, "for you apologize publicly. At next month's hackathon, you tell them what you did to me and why it was wrong." Dylan's face paled, but he nodded. "I will. And you mean it, not performative. Real accountability." "I understand." Marcus stood, walked to the window overlooking the convention center grounds. "Dylan, I didn't buy this company to humiliate you. I bought it because talent is everywhere, but opportunity isn't. You're proof of that. You had every advantage and still built something hollow. Now you get to choose what you build next." Dylan joined him at the window. Below, Maria and 3 other young developers clustered around a laptop, coding together, laughing. "They're the future," Marcus said. "Our job is to stop standing in their way." Dylan watched them, really watched. Saw the potential he'd been too arrogant to notice. "I spent years protecting a brand that didn't deserve protection. So build something that does." They stood in silence as the sun set, casting gold light across the glass building. 2 men from different worlds, finding unexpected common ground in the wreckage of assumptions. 3 months later, Techolite's first inclusive hackathon launched. 500 participants, 50% from non-traditional backgrounds. Maria had helped design the application process. Blind evaluation based purely on submitted code samples. Marcus stood backstage, adjusting his royal blue tie. Dylan stood beside him wearing a simple white shirt, no expensive suit. He looked nervous. "You ready?" Marcus asked. "No," Dylan admitted. "But I need to do this." He walked on stage to scattered applause. Some people still knew his reputation, still doubted his change. "My name is Dylan Cross. 3 months ago, I was the person who had Marcus Williams escorted out of this building." His voice carried across the silent hall. "I judged him without checking facts. I assumed he didn't belong because of how he looked. I was wrong, and that wrongness cost this company years of innovation and countless talented people their opportunities." The silence deepened. "Phones recorded everything. I'm not here asking forgiveness. I'm here accepting responsibility, and I'm committing to spend the next phase of my career identifying and dismantling the barriers I helped build. If you've ever been judged before your work was seen, I was part of that problem. I'm working to be part of the solution." He stepped back. The applause started hesitantly, then grew. Not because they forgave him, but because accountability mattered. Marcus took the stage. "This is what transformation looks like. Imperfect, uncomfortable, necessary. Welcome to the new Techolite. Let's build." The hackathon exploded with energy. Diverse teams formed naturally. Ideas collided and merged. In one corner, Maria mentored a teenage coder from rural Montana. In another, a grandmother who taught herself Python shared algorithms with Stanford graduates. Dylan spent the day doing administrative work, setting up stations, troubleshooting Wi-Fi, fetching coffee. Invisible labor, no glory. He didn't complain. At day's end, Maria won first place with an accessibility tool for neurodiverse developers. When Marcus handed her the trophy, a circuit board etched with Mr. Chen's favorite quote, "Code sees no color," her eyes shone. "Thank you," she whispered, "for seeing me." "Thank you for being excellent," Marcus replied. He looked across the hall. Dylan was helping clean up, stacking chairs alongside junior staff. No hierarchy, no ego, just work. Marcus felt Mr. Chen's presence like a warm hand on his shoulder. The mentor who'd given him everything, who'd taught him that power meant opening doors, not guarding them. The building that had rejected him now thrived because of him. But more importantly, people like Maria thrived. That was the real victory. Marcus stood alone in the empty convention center after everyone left. Moonlight streamed through the glass walls, casting silver patterns across the floor, where he'd once sat humiliated on the curb outside. He thought about the journey, from that concrete curb to this moment, about Mr. Chen's encrypted files and patient lessons, about Dylan's transformation, imperfect but genuine, about Maria's joy when someone finally listened. "They didn't ban me that day," Marcus said softly to the empty room. "They banned their own future. They locked out innovation because it didn't look like their expectations." He walked to the glass doors, placed his palm against the cool surface. "But the door they closed, I didn't break it down. I bought the whole building. Not for revenge, for reconstruction." His reflection stared back. A black man in a blue suit who turned invisibility into his greatest weapon, who transformed rejection into revolution. "Excellence was always here," Marcus continued. "In Oakland libraries, in community colleges, in garage workshops and cramped apartments. The industry just refused to look." He thought of all the Marcus Williams still out there, brilliant and ignored. All the Maria Gonzalezes waiting for someone to listen. All the potential locked behind doors guarded by people like Dylan used to be. "So this is the lesson," Marcus said, his voice steady and certain. "Never let someone else's limitations define your ceiling. When they say you don't belong, don't fight the door. Buy the building. Then decide who gets keys." He turned from his reflection, walked toward the exit. Behind him, the trophy Maria won sat on a table, circuit board gleaming. Tomorrow, 50 more developers from non-traditional backgrounds would receive Techolite scholarships. Next month, 100. Next year, thousands. The door hadn't just opened. It had been removed completely. Marcus stepped into the night, phone already buzzing with messages from the next generation, coders who'd heard his story, who saw themselves in his journey, who were ready to build futures the industry hadn't imagined yet. He smiled, thinking of Mr. Chen's final message, "Don't haunt, own." "I'm doing both," Marcus whispered to the stars. "And it's working." The convention center lights dimmed behind him, but ahead, the city glowed with infinite possibility. And in that possibility, excellence had no color, no pedigree, no walls, just open doors, and people brave enough to walk through them.